What's up YouTube? This is Valks here, bringing you some commentary for C.Viper's trials. I recently redid these over again, and they weren't too bad. Some of her later trials may require a little bit of strategy, but with enough trial and error, you'll be able to get this no problem. I won't be going over any of her earlier trials just because they're very straightforward, but instead I'd like to go over just the general strategies that come into play when you're doing these Street Fighter trials. And they're actually really simple, um, but they're just really key. So when you're playing the D-pad, becomes really vital is the fact that you're going to have to change your configuration every time you're doing a certain trial just to meet um, uh, that trial accordingly. And the reason you're doing this is because, unlike the fight stick, you don't get all your fingers unless you're playing the D-pad that way. In which case I'm not. I like to use my thumbs for the D-pad. Um, and what I mean by switching each button accordingly is that sometimes you know uh, you'll be required to do a low kick instead of a medium kick, something like that. It's really simple and very straightforward in that sense. Um, but another thing you want to take advantage of when you're using the D-pad or the three punches all into one and the three kicks all into one. The low kick, medium kick, and high kick into one, and the low punch, medium punch, and high punch into one. Also, the same thing can be applied to the focus attack, which I use for L2, and I use the kicks and punches for my R1 and my R2 buttons. Um, you wouldn't have to use this with the fight stick, but sadly, I never had the privilege of going to the arcades and experiencing the arcade scene. I grew up playing fighting games with a D-pad um, ever since the Sega Genesis, where I was like super young at the time. I don't know, like 5 years old. Um, but aside from the configurations, and I'll actually get more into that when we get to some of C.Viper's later trials, as this is C.Viper commentary. Um, I wanted to just talk about that. This basically, I mean, there's no strategy really, and I mean, well, there's strategy for some of the trials, but nothing beats just trial and error when it comes to these. Um, I've done all the trials around 6 times now. It's gonna be my 7th time, and that includes the original Street Fighter 4. And it's become progressively easier after each time I've completed those trials or these trials. Um, Even now, like I haven't played this game in about a year and a half now, and I just started doing these trials again when I decided to record these around 3 days ago, and it's much easier than when I did it before, and it's been that way as I've done these trials over the years. Every time I've done it, it's gotten easier, and it's just like anything else, it becomes easier the more you do it. So those of you that are trying this, especially just those of you that are still trying to do this now, the more you stick at it, you're gonna be able to do it. It's if you stick at anything, you'll be able to do it. So um, I wanted to help those that don't have the capabilities of buying a fight stick and can only use the D-pad to be able to do it. Um, Being as that I'm a D-pad player myself. Um, Aside from that, the first time I actually did see Viper's trials, I remember it being a pain because of her uh, super high jump cancel into the Ultra, and that really is the only problem. That The only trial that gives a lot of people problems, um, just because they don't know the strategy involved with it, and it can be really a trial that requires heavy timing if you don't know what you're doing. Well, I mean, it still requires heavy timing, but it becomes easier if you know the strategy. Um, her last trial though is not too bad actually. Her last trial, it just takes advantage of you need to take advantage of switching up the configuration where you'll have I believe it's her last trial is the high punch into thunder cancel into another high punch, and what you do there, it's the same thing like trial number 19 for C.Viper, which will be coming up pretty soon. Um, you'll just have square as high punch, and you'll what you'll do is you'll high punch with square, and you'll do the thunder move, which is quarter circle backwards high punch. So you do quarter circle backwards, square, and then after the high punch, and then you'll cancel that with triangle, which you'll put as all three punches in one, and then you'll go back to square doing your high punch, and then you'll continue on to your seismic hammer. And her last trial was easy, really easy. So C.Viper is actually considered one of the harder trials in a lot of people's minds, um, but I feel that's only because of the high jump cancel. And that also becomes easy if you know the strategy. This one is pretty straightforward too. It really just starts where strategy starts coming into place. I think around trial 18, I think. Another thing too is like you see here is that um, if you're not able to connect like the connecting into like a link into a super or something, just try stretching out your hands sometimes. Especially if when you're using a D-pad, your hands will get sore. It's only inevitable. Especially if you're having like your L2 button as your focus attack, which is the way you want it because you want to have your square, triangle, circle, and X button dedicated to your regular punches and kicks, and R1 and R2 are just convenient to have the three punches and three kicks into one. And I leave L2 as focus attack and my L1 button as a throw. One of the things though about next time I play fighting game is it gets you really have to choose what combos you really want, which is the reason why I've been doing these trials over and over again over the years. When I play competitively, especially with the D-pad, is that you have to choose um, what configuration you want. Unlike the fight stick where you have all the buttons laid out right in front of you, with the D-pad, I have to choose what I want for square, triangle, circle, and X, my main buttons, because I'll always have R1, R2 dedicated to uh, the three punches and three kicks, square, circle, and X, and square. Um, I have to choose between whether I want the low punch or the medium punch, or whether I want the low kick or the medium kick dedicated to square or X most of the time. Okay, we're here at trial 18 now. This is a prime example of what I'm talking about of the canceling for C.Viper's moves, because her moves you get a cancel by pressing two punches at once, I believe. Um, and be able instead of pressing like square and triangle, you're able to do that by taking advantage of three punches at once. So like I said earlier, you want to have um, square as well, actually no, this isn't even the one. I'm sorry. This one is entirely different. The cancel. This one you just want to wait till they're a bit close to the ground before you apply the ultra. Okay, in terminal 19 here, Dan will actually um, sometimes when you do the focus attack into a thunder knuckle, he'll actually fly into the air. What you want to have is like those 4 times I did it, he was feigning. So depending on, I don't remember if it's either being too early or too late, because this trial didn't really, I got done with the trial fairly quickly. You want to make sure he's doing a feigning motion. This one I don't even need to talk about. This one just easy. Anytime usually when you're linking into a super, it's always easy, especially um, from one move like that. Like a Shoryuken or Thunder Knuckle to super, it's always easy. Okay, this is the one I got confused with when I was doing. This one is all about speed, really. And that's the reason why everything I said on Trial 18, because what you want to apply here, is just for the being able to get it done quicker and being able to do it without getting your hands too sore. Reason why I changed triangle to, or the 3 punches to triangle, because when I pressed R2, my hands kind of cramp up a little bit more. So putting it to triangle, not only is it closer, it's easier to do. Okay, this is the one. The strategy involved here, which I've been talking about throughout this whole commentary, and the first time I did it the Street Fighter 4-way, as you can see here, was the crouching low punch into high jump burst, which can actually be easier because you could buffer it and apply the low punch, being a little bit quicker. But when you're doing it the normal way, how you're supposed to do it, in a way I did it and it made it much easier for me. I was able to do it 3 times again later on after done recording. Um, you want to apply high kick, low kick, and low punch a little bit slower than normal, because you'll always be able to link those no matter how fast you go. So if you do it a little bit slower, you'll be able to link that, and you'll be able to buffer the high jump ultra when you're pressing square. So as you're pressing square, you'll be ready applying the ultra, the high jump ultra right after that. So it'll be the movement, um, it'll be the punches and the low kicks. Then when you get the low punch, you'll be buffering the high jump ultra. If you do it too fast, you'll end up either high jumping or ultraing, or end up low punching or something. But I have noticed that if you do it a little bit slower, you'll be able to get off the standing low punch and pull off the high jump ultra. And that strategy works perfect. So, because just doing it again now, it was just way easier after I was done recording. So. I haven't really gone over the inputs for that, but I'll write it in the description since we're running out of time here. As far as this trial here, it's fairly simple, using the same thing you were doing for, was it 20? I'm not even sure the number of the trial now, but placing a square as high punch and triangle as the 3 punches in one. And you don't even have to, I mean, unlike that other trial, I mean, that one required speed because you had to do the ultra from out of a cancel, a thunder knuckle cancel. Here, it's just, you know, you're doing the cancel into a crouching punch. From there, you do the seismic hammer, high jump into a burning kick, and from there you just do the ultra. The first time I did it, it was off because he wasn't close enough to the ground. But that's all of C.Viper's trials. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys like this, if you guys helped in any way, please subscribe and like, comment down below, and I'll be uploading more videos in the coming weeks. Peace out, guys.